In my channel this past week, a lot was going on in my channel this past week, but I was given a little quote from the Bible, from the Apostle Paul in his first letter to the Corinthians. When I was a child, I talked like a child. I thought like a child. I reasoned like a child. When I became a man, I put the ways of childhood behind me. What Spirit is wanting us to understand is that if you are a mystic and you are drawn to the path and the work and the process that we practice here at the Sacred Light Fellowship, you are leaving your spiritual childhood behind. We also have to understand that the majority of our siblings on earth are in the midst of spiritual childhood, and we are the elder siblings. There is nothing wrong with childhood. We've all been children. Childhood is an essential part of development. Without being a child, you cannot grow into adulthood, into maturity. But when you feel yourself disturbed by the things you see happening on the earth, by the behaviors you see your siblings on earth exhibiting, remember that they are in childhood, they are growing, they need love and support and nurturing, and they will mature. Remember also that the earth is a sphere of purification, where souls who are out of balance, meaning all of us, come to experience our out of balance state in form, and to be given an opportunity, if we choose to accept it, to heal, to transform the consciousness, energy, and patterning that has created our out of balance state, given birth to the forms that reflect to us our out of balance state, giving birth to the forms of pain, suffering, struggle, and lack. Now, I was given a rather no-nonsense, challenging teaching from Spirit in one of my morning sessions this past week. They had me say, if I don't want any more pain, suffering, struggle, or lack in my life, there doesn't have to be. If I don't want any more pain, suffering, struggle, or lack in my life, it doesn't have to be. There will only be pain, suffering, struggle, and lack in my life if I want it, if I choose it, if I create it. There is no reason for me to create it unless I want it, and I don't. If pain, suffering, struggle, or lack came to me without my creating it, it would mean that God is cruel and evil. God is not cruel and evil. God is love. And I remembered in September of 2001, I had a job working for a wine importer, and one of the sales reps after 9/11 said, after 9/11, I stopped believing in God. And that was indicative of being a spiritual child. In spiritual childhood, you actually believe that God is controlling everything and doing everything, and that the good things that happen to you are sent to you by God. The bad things that happen to you are sent to you by God or by the devil, and you are basically powerless. And you can pray for protection. You can do what you can. You can go to a psychic and ask, well, is there anything I need to worry about or be warned against? You feel really powerless, much as a helpless child really is powerless and depends upon her earth plane parents to take care of her. But in spiritual maturity, you actually understand that you are the offspring of God and you create as God does, meaning that the energy inside of you is creating. The consciousness within you is creating. The patterning within you is creating, is constantly taking form in your life, in the experiences you have, in the relationships you draw to you. Everything is happening from within you. So to evolve out of spiritual childhood means that you let go of the belief that you are not creating and manifesting your experience on earth. And you also let go of the belief that God is some faraway being outside of you, and you accept that God's spirit is inside of you, is your inner teacher, is your guide, is your healer, is your transformer. So in one of my sessions with Spirit in the morning this past week, we were working on some things within me, and I was working on money. I was saying, I want to really manifest overflowing abundance, wealth, prosperity, and financial freedom. And the way that the guides work with me and the way that they work with other people through my channel is they will ask you questions that are not easy to answer, but the questions will always lead you to the place within yourself that needs transformation, where the place within yourself where you need enlightenment and you will grow. And they asked me, why have you placed a limit on your pleasure supreme? See, in my life, I have lots of pleasure supreme. I have lots of joy, but I place limits on it. And one of the limits I was seeing was in financially, I always have enough money to do what I really want to do, but I don't have the kind of money where I could just do anything. Or one of the examples I like to give is my late brother-in-law, when he would take the family out to dinner, and to not cheap restaurants, mind you. He would just, no matter how many people were there, he would just give the check to me without batting an eye and pay for it. And so I'm thinking, I want to just have that kind of abundance and prosperity, because if I'm here on the earth to enjoy everything, if this is why God has created me, then I need that. That's the way I need to be financially to really fulfill my purpose of enjoying everything. So what came out of me in meditation, they asked, well, why are you placing limits on your pleasure supreme? I heard this part of myself say, it's wrong to have too much pleasure supreme. I was quite shocked by that, Because consciously, that's not what I think or feel. That's not what I teach. That's not what comes through my channel. But there was this part of me that said, it's wrong to have too much pleasure supreme. What was interesting, it wasn't saying I don't feel deserving of it. It was saying it's wrong. So the guides had me ask, why is it wrong? And this voice within me, which I feel was a past life personality of mine, said, well, too much pleasure supreme will take you straight to hell. It separates you from God. It's sinful. It was really shocking to me to actually know that there was this part of me, there's this consciousness. I'm always talking about consciousness, energy, and patterning. There was this consciousness inside of me that was actually feeling and believing that. And I'm hearing the phrase attributed to Brother Jesus, let us reason together. So the angels had me feel the power and glory of God. And they had me feel into it. And if you are a mystic and you are open, you actually feel God. And when you feel into God, you can feel God inviting you to enjoy everything. Think about the imagery that Jill had us experience, the abundance, the beauty of this creation. And according to Jesus in A Course in Miracles, the whole purpose of the creation is to make us happy. That's the whole reason everything exists, to make us happy. So when the angels had me and had this part of me look at reality and feel the reality of God, the logical conclusion was there's absolutely no reason to limit one's pleasure supreme. God is pleasure supreme. And in my house, there are many mansions, means there's the pleasure supreme expands infinitely. Forever and ever and ever, amen. There's always a new level of pleasure supreme. Now, this goes against everything, actually, that people are believing on earth who consider themselves religious and are focused in the traditional religious teaching. Even though that phrase, in my Father's house there are many mansions, that's a truth, but people don't really understand that that means heaven has infinite dimensions and spheres, and you are entitled to all of them, to keep growing in your joy and your fulfillment and your abundance, to keep expanding into light. And once I realized that, not just mentally, but once I had that session with the angels and it integrated into my gut, into my emotional body, there was immediate change within me, change that I saw in my physical body, change that I saw in my finances. And I made a commitment once again to be in the world, but not of it. Yes, I'm here on the earth, I'm in this body, but I'm going to let my consciousness remain in heaven with God, where pain, suffering, struggle, and lack do not exist and are completely impossible. So I invite you in this moment to join with me, just taking a breath and let yourself say to the universe, let yourself say to God, I'm ready to grow. I'm ready to enter in to my spiritual maturity and adulthood. And as you breathe, We want you to look at everything you're experiencing in your life right now. And in your spiritual adulthood, you see that it's all emanating from you. It's all emanating from your consciousness, your energy, your patterning. Everything you're loving and enjoying, everything you're not loving and not enjoying. And the good news is the power of God is right there inside of you. The healing hands, the healing transformative love of God is right there inside of you, ready to be tapped into right now. And you take in a nice breath. And as you look at what you're not enjoying, you are reminded by Brother Jesus that you deserve a miracle right now. Look at what you're not enjoying and declare, I am deserving of a miracle right now because I am God's holy, beloved, innocent, infinitely deserving creation. I will let you in, God, to the consciousness within me that is producing this. I will let you in, God, to the patterning within me that's producing this. I will let you in, God, to the energy within me that is producing this. And I accept the miracle of change, healing, and transformation right now. And as you take in a nice breath, you will feel my hand upon you, says the Spirit of God. You will feel my hand upon your heart, sending new life and new light into you, releasing from you the consciousness, energy, and patterning that produces your pain, suffering, struggle, or lack, whether it is large or small. And you take in a nice breath. And if you choose, let yourself speak these words aloud. I am now so changed by the Spirit of God that it's now easy and natural for me to let myself have and enjoy everything. All of God's gifts to me. Every gift, every blessing, every manifestation of God's will and God's grace. And again, let yourself envision your heart's desires. When this prayer refers to God's gifts, it is referring to your specific heart's desires. So you speak the prayer again, I am so changed right now by the Spirit of God that it's now easy and natural for me to let myself have and enjoy everything. All of God's gifts to me. Every gift, every blessing, every manifestation of God's will and God's grace.